The Committee on Transportation, Infrastructure, Lands, Border Protection, Veterans Affairs, and Procurement calls this confirmation hearing to order. Now, we actually had on the agenda to start off with the oversight hearing, and then followed by the confirmation hearings for Mrs. Gyongyi Fejeran and Mr. Ricardo C. Duenas. But I have been persuaded to take things out of order and first have the confirmation hearings and then followed by the oversight hearing. Did I get that right? Okay, thank you. And so with that, I first of all want to introduce the senators that's with us today. And to my right is Senator Frank Uggan. To my left is Senator Rory Spicio, the Majority Leader, and to his left is Senator Mary Torres. So thank you very much for joining us today. So first up for the confirmation hearing will be Ms. The formal name is Gyongyi, but we all know her as Pika Fejeran. And so before I call her up to give her remarks, a number of people have signed up to give testimony on her behalf. And so I'll call you up on the order that you signed. Jackie Marotti, Mike Borja, Ms. Rita Franques, Ms. Chad Escura, okay, that'll be the first group, and then we'll call up the next group after this group. So we'll start off with Ms. Marotti.
Hafaday, Honorable Chairman Tom Atta, and kind senators. My name is Jackie Ariola Marotti, and I'm pleased to submit this testimony on behalf of the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce to support the nomination of Gyongyi Pika Fejeran to serve on the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. Born and reared on Guam, Pika is a 2002 graduate of St. John's School, earning an International Baccalaureate before attending and graduating from the University of Southern California with a master's in urban planning and regional planning. Pika worked for 4 years in Southern California for Parsons Corporation as a planner and deputy project manager, performing environmental planning involving impact assessment and regulatory compliance. She has a strong multidisciplinary grounding in numerous environmental issues, including water and air quality, noise, hazardous waste and materials, aesthetics and visual resources, agriculture, recreational resources, cultural resources, land use and planning, biological resources, socioeconomics, environmental justice, and community impact. On her return home to Guam in 2010 until 2013, Pika was Superintendent Environmental for DZSP LLC locally and managed environmental compliance and hazardous waste operations at offices at Andersen Air Force Base, managing the budgets for the Andersen and Navy DZSP environmental offices. Pika has a unique understanding of the interplay between land use and the environment and how laws and regulations lead this interplay. As well, through her experience as a small business owner for Pika's Cafe and Kitchen Lingo, she has developed that rare perspective as a business owner, combining the interest in Guam's economy and the health of our environment, intertwined with the perpetuation of our Chamorro culture and compliance with federal regulations. Pika is articulate and poised, mature and experienced. She has an earnest willingness to serve. She brings a wealth of technical and tested knowledge combined with sensitivity to our cultural and economic challenges. On behalf of the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce, we submit our wholehearted support and endorsement for the nomination of Pika Fejeran to serve on the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. Situs Maasi.
Thank you very much, Ms. Marotti. Next on is Mr. Mike Borja.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, honorable senators. I'm Mike Borja, the Director of Land Management and the Administrative Director of the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. I offer my support to confirm Ms. Pika Fejeran as a member of the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. Ms. Fejeran comes to this commission with a valuable educational background and experience in urban and regional planning and environmental management. These qualities come at a time in the Commission's progression where the issuance of residential and agricultural leases must weigh in very important concerns on how we use and distribute lands and steps we must take to assure the protection of our island's environment, especially our aquifer system. The fresh perspective and the vibrant ideas Ms. Fejeran will bring to the Commission will assure the progressive development of policies on infrastructure development, land use, land development, commercial leasing, home loan guarantees, and more. As a small business owner, Ms. Fejeran brings further experience to the Commission to assure CLTC maintains strong financial attributes and practices as specified in law and as expressed by the public auditor. Recognized by Guam's business community for excellence and an active member of the Guam Chamber of Commerce and a board member of the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce, these are great qualities for a commissioner of the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. I humbly ask this committee to favorably report her nomination and ask this legislature to swiftly confirm her nomination. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Borja. Ms. Franquez?
Good afternoon, Senators. Good afternoon. Ms. Pika's Fejeran's education and experience are quite extraordinary, extensive, and very impressive. With all those qualifications, I think she would be a superb choice. It should be a unanimous choice for her confirmation. However, I do not because of her, because of the commission itself. This commission is very important to many people. And there are so many people, I don't know how many are on the list wanting land. Land. And land is not a renewable resource. Once it's gone, it's there. So I think that with her qualifications, she will do very well to protect the land because it's not an infinite resource. To protect it and see that it goes to those who are worthy and qualified for it. Not to turn it into a business and then turn around and that whoever gets that turns it into a business that could be also outsourced from there. No, I think it should be very well reviewed, whoever's applying, because it's not an infinite resource. She has to be very strict. And it's going to be very unnerving, I think, for her to have so many people asking for this because they've applied since 1960s. It's going to be a monumental effort on her part. So she has to be prepared for that. And I hate to say this, but I think maybe this agency should put a moratorium here, finish out what's on the table, but then put a moratorium on the rest of it until they have the funding to do a proper job of what they should be doing, to screen, to survey, and to serve the people. The people first who need it, not the corporations. It's good to have money, but money you will outspend. The land is still there, and when it's gone, it's not infinite. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Franquez. Mr. Escura?
Half-a-day Senators, thank you very much for allowing me to speak on Pika's behalf. My name is Chad. Would like to thank the three previous speakers for speaking on Pika's professional attributes. I like to speak more on a more personal level. Pika and her husband has been a friend of mine for a very long time. I've seen them grow as a couple. I've seen them get married. I've seen them create a family here on this island. I've seen them provide jobs for this island. people, you go to Pika's Cafe, you see the staff, everybody's happy. Everybody, it reflects from the management all the way down to the cook and the dishwashers. They love their staff. They treat their staff with the utmost respect. They provide as many benefits to them to allow them to grow, from insurance to whatever, helping them along, personable loans, whatever. Pardon me, but I just want to say that she's actually an awesome person and would be a new vibe to this commission. Some may look at her as inexperienced, some may look at her as not ready, but I say deep down, she brings a new vibe to this island. She's part of the new generation, and I believe she should be given a chance to really show what our generation coming can bring to the table. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and I also want to recognize the presence of Senator Underwood. Does anybody have any questions from this particular panel? None? Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to call up the next group. I have Anne Marie Arceo. Gyongyi Rosario. Wait, did you sign up? Oh, you weren't going to give testimony? Oh. Okay, got it. Okay. And then Frank Rosario is here today. I presume you're in support of their... Lulian Guerrero. Maria O'Mallon. Maria, are you going to be speaking? No? Not okay. All right. So on this panel then, it'll be just Anne Marie Arceo and Miss Lulian Guerrero. Anybody else that maybe forgot to sign up? Okay. So go ahead and we'll start with you, Anne Marie. Consigue.
Hasta nala ka na? Okay. Buenas talones y Zeus. Senadores and senadoras, ya. Si Zeus Masina un serihan para ben gagigwini pago na dia. Baysangan despacio kasi kisine comprendizo para hamzune tatsaga. Gagizo gwini para bayhu supporti si Pika mas matungo como Pika. Sa tori pumalo sa masangan todo I tiningonya I Santa Tenia ni experiencia niya siya. Lo gagizo gwini para bay supporti gwi como nana zan palan sa moro. Sa muna hutungo si Pika ginin si familia niya todo gwiza zanya sa gwanya si Lenny. Then tres famagwanya si Isla, si Inina zan si Ko gi horao. Za makomiti siya na para ufan fino tomorrow za kada semana, kada dia man mafatu gi horao. Para manasiguro na matungo za maedza ki fino tomorrow za ni kuturan tomorrow ihinengi todo. Ma-aplipika gi halom ilinala niya za para guahu masya haji engin para un sedbiantin komunidad. Importante na hatutun giza hago todo I menaulik giza hago na maisa zan ginini familia mo zan igima manhongi gas zoos met good goi guano na banda unlia na ha plipika todo gilina la niya pues antes di huzong todo do hane seguguro na importante para guiza potungo haji goi como tomorrow goi za ginenasta tanya esinarensha hana siguro na parautungo ginen manogui haji gui za cosa kipo pasa papa gi famagonya tatungo na meg donkulusi na problema I mega titumungo fumeno tomorrow mega yasta tima praktika I kultura zani hinengi guiza zani asagwanya mana siguro na estigi mas 3 kilo para siya pago na tempo zamanana en maisa siya 3 años para fangapas antes de uma sota horama committee da market sa mangay business dos na business ani familia niya mantinani low puri ma committee za puri palan tomorrow gui Importante po pasa papa gi pamagonya na matungo. Da esta manguecuentus sistema praktika, pues Paraguay ingin tumilong esti lenguaje, kultura, danitano. Dinansi mana nagagiza na kapapaskwi. Da sinya ingin matatsungwi gwini inajuda pero fatinas mas malik na desisyon para iman mamala na henerasyon sa Morusia. Pues, gagaw hamzo ng support tigwi, sa naigwit sansa, hobin, gof malik corazon niya, da manhongi zo, zangay konfiansa zo gizagwiza na sinya mamatinas maulik na desisyon para iman mamala na henerasyon famagwanta. Kumo esti nangokun tano tomorrow. Si Zeus maasi.
Si Zeus maasi ni todo ni silingan mo.
Okay.
Bonita. Ms. Leon Guerrero.
Thank you, Senator. Hafaday, Senator Tom Atta, and members of the committee. My name is Lou Leon Guerrero, a member of the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce. I'm here today testifying in favor of the confirmation of Pika Fejeran as Commissioner to the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. The Chamorro Land Trust Commission is a very important government agency mandated with authority to oversee, develop, administer, lease, license, invest, supervise, and govern the management of our Chamorro homelands designated in a trust for the use and ownership of our Chamorros. These lands are held in trusts governed by the commissioners whose actions and authority are directed by law. Our land in our island is the basic root of our culture, our family, our livelihood, and our sustainability. It is held sacred and ownership is regarded highly. Because of this high regard of our lands, it is crucial that those individuals given the authority to administer our lands must be able, capable, and competent to do so. Pika is indeed that individual. I have known Pika and have watched her grow up from a bouncy, athletic volleyball player, and a winning one at that, to now a mother of 3, a successful businesswoman, a loving and supportive wife, and certainly a rising leader in her own right. Pika not only has the educational experience to claim her seat as a commissioner, but she has a very calming, patient, and inclusive attitude with a strong passion for her culture, her language, and her traditions. She returned to her home after many years away because she missed her island, and she wanted to give back to the island that raised her. She comes from a very well-respected family, and I have to commend both Gyongyi and Frank Rosario for raising such a well-rounded woman who took the values and beliefs that she was taught and rooted it into her life adventures. Pika is persistent and reasonable. I remember when she came to the bank to borrow money to open her first Pika restaurant. She did warn me that 2 other banks declined her loan. And my response to her is, Pika, we will take care of you. In her pursuit to make something she knew was right happen, she did not stop. And history has proven her right. Pika is resourceful, she is detailed, she plans her path, she is logical, and above all, not ashamed to seek help and consultation when she needs to. Believe me, the millennial generation is a generation we should welcome and relish on our side. They are relentless. They are smart. They are team players. They know how to get information instantly, and they back their decisions with data and research. Just the right person for our Chamorro Land Trust Commission. The appointment of Pika to this commission is undoubtedly a good decision made by the governor. And I am hopeful that once she is confirmed, she is given the full support of this administration. In closing, I submit my testimony in anticipation that your committee and the full body of the legislature return with a favorable consideration. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Leon Guerrero. Does anybody have any questions on this? Yes, please. Senators.
Fejeran Marie, gof maguf na nagaya gwinida gof mala gede ikwina I kifina tomorrow.
Situs
No,
masi.
basing on na ni gatnya na manalizo dyan si Pika. So faisin lako hafi interesado mo gwini I Chamorro Land Trust.
Okay.
Sa tutungo na ihagan Frank Rosario sa ninananya. Ugatong mo itatanya. Lo tutungo na ihaganya si Pika. Sa and ayo taytay na sumasanaw gi Horao Academy.
Okay.
Uhongi na etsuki eno na interesado sina palaon eno na guaha atungo sinintenyan itautauta. Sa gosa importante esti Chamorro Land Trust. No angin tungo dan tun hongi ipinitin itautauta. Ti sinyan una mauli kitset so mo no angin tun senti.
Okay.
Pues put eno na ayo taita esti like ungan magahit esti na palaan. Dan siguro do na fanahan no malago na pog na maulik gwano itsetona gi Land Trust Commission.
Atu tungo iginani san halom za be omentaji alakui na kuntosi Uncle Frank za nina nanya ni ti tomorrow. Ma tetendi class kina taluani. Tani pupuing manyosa sa malago para fania todo como familia ma supporti famaguon ni para makat gamona. Esti ihinengi kultura za ni lengguahi.
Lo angin maanya how ti malago un sagi gifinet na tisinyo na abansa mo na
Honga.
ikosa no tisinya.
Honga.
So I was just saying to everybody that when I to Anne-Marie for the benefit of the audience that when I met with Pika yesterday, she came to visit with me. I asked her what her interest was in the Chamorro Land Trust. You know, why would you be so interested? And do you appreciate and have a sensitivity to the needs of the people and those that particularly are interested in the lands? And she explained to me her background and that she was Chamorro, and I didn't realize who her parents are, and now I see where her passion comes from. But when I read in here that she actually was studying at the Horao Academy, then I understood that she in fact is very sincere and wanting to do what is right. And to Anne-Marie, I just mentioned that sometimes we are fearful and we don't want to take the first steps. Like speaking Chamorro here is extremely stressful. But if we're fearful and don't attempt to make the first steps, we really can't advance our cause forward. So it really has to start with that. And I also want to iterate that I'm even more confident in Pika's ambition and her desire to do the right job for the commission. Situs Masi.
Situs Masi, Senadora.
Oh. Iti ba nalo ani manalzan kalam pumadza.
Tagi, eda ginen speaker zuko lalati mo na hapega huzang ja di maanya was da sangena
toguya. Na sinaman natin. Lo, Situs Masi in este
Situs Masi.
Okay. The next one is Aubrey Duenas. Aubrey, did you want to speak? No? You're afraid? Jenna Gamindi? Okay, so Aubrey Duenas is here in support. Jenna Gamindi, Mel Mendiola. Short, okay. We got Mark Mendiola. Mark. We have Shrivani Darinani. Did you want to just to hear and to show support? Okay, great. Kara Flores. Kara, do you want to speak? Yes, please. Step forward. And Monica Dioro. Just here to show support? Okay. Now, I got to make a couple of a short confession here. When Pika came to visit me the other day, I said, you can invite your friends and family to come and speak on behalf. And apparently she took my word at it and filled the room. The second part is I didn't realize that Frank was your father. We went to school together. And your father was actually a seminarian studying to be a priest. So with that, Ms. Mendiola?
Thank you. I think if I had needed to make the statement in Chamorro, it would be much more brief. It would just be Bota Ungen. Lao. Tisinya Kumentus Malik. So I'm going to go ahead and give my comments in English. My name is Melanie Mendiola, and I'm the project director of an organization called Farm to Table Guam. And I've been acquainted with Pika for about 4 years now. And as the project director of Farm to Table, we're an organization that works with small businesses in areas of small businesses and farmers in areas of agriculture and agricultural business. In her capacity as a business owner, Pika and her family, they do live what it means to support local. As an employer, they're always looking out, not only as, I remember one time when we were discussing what it's like to employ individuals in a small business and how difficult it can be. And Pika and Lenny really take on the role of almost a big brother, big sister for all of their employees, a parent in some cases. She's also a buyer of local produce. She supports farmers. They support farmers as often as they can. And in a world where businesses are always concerned with margins and what's the cheapest I can get, they're interested in putting out the best quality they can, and they encourage that with our local farmers. And lastly, as a supporter of all the efforts of our organization has been in existence for just a short amount of time. But in that short amount of time from its inception, Pika and Lenny didn't wait to see what we were going to do for them. They were from the get-go saying, how can we help you? And as a leader of a small business or a small organization and a nonprofit, and on behalf of the people that we help and our beneficiaries, they have always been there for us. So on top of all that, she's a creative gal, she's approachable, she's smart, and I can 100% see that she's open to discussion with farmers and small business owners. She's really making an effort to learn Chamorro, and a lot of farmers would really appreciate that. And I, as a resident of the island, the village of Mila, and a fellow Chamorro woman, I would appreciate her perspective in the CLTC as well. And so I asked the committee to unanimously recommend and confirm being put on the CLTC. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kara?
Thank you for your time today. As a people, we have always been connected to our land, and more recently, in many ways, we've been disconnected from it. The CLTC is an important agency, and we're at an important point in time in which we must decide as a community what is more important than our land. And while the confirmation of a new commissioner will not fix the legislation or the politics that challenge this commission from functioning in the manner for which it was intended, the role of a commissioner is an important one, and I believe that Pika Fejeran will collaborate fairly and with the best interest of those who the trust seeks to benefit as her foremost priority. I've watched over the years as Pika and Lenny have grown their business with a strong commitment to the community that you've already heard about and to our culture, and I've grown to respect her leadership, humility, and integrity. And this kind of leadership is needed more than ever. So I would ask that you would unanimously accept her appointment.
Thank you very much. We've exhausted the list of individuals who have signed up to either speak on behalf or to indicate their support for Pika Fejeran. So at this point, then, I'm going to go ahead and call up the nominee herself to step forward, and please present your... Mark, you had signed up, but you did not. You're in support. Okay, fine. Thank you.
CJ's Maasi. Full disclaimer, I am blown away by how many people have showed up and have decided to speak on my behalf. Thank you. Very unexpected. Now I promised myself, okay. Hafade Toru Hamzu. Ina Anhu si Gyongyi, Pika, Pilar Fejeran. Lo Torurui Linelahu Ina Anhu si Pika. Pues Agengzu Pika por favor. Si dus maasi senators, Senyor Borja y familiaku tinimagatongu para I tiempo mizu. Malagudu baihu pati I estoriahu hadzidu Zansahafa na malagudu baihu saunau gi I commission inenkanu tanu tsumoru. Hafade. My name is Gyongyi Pilar Fejeran, but all my life I've only been known as Pika. Please call me Pika. Thank you, Senators, Mr. Borja, my family and friends for your time. I would like to share my story with you, who I am and why I want to be a commissioner on the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. Guahu Hagen, Frank Borja, Rosario, Tau Tau Sinahanya, Familia Ngongya. My mother is Gyongyi, my namesake, a Hungarian from New York City who has chosen to make Guam her home for the last 40 years. I was born and raised here on Guam, and my parents provided a very charmed and fortunate life, surrounded by countless aunts and uncles and cousins. At the last count, my first cousins on my father's side numbered 86. I graduated from St. John's School and left for college in Los Angeles. College education was ingrained in me by my parents from a young age, so there was no question I was going. However, when I left, my goal was to one day return home with education and experience that I could use to contribute as an adult to Esti y Sembunita na Islata. I attended the University of Southern California, where I received my Bachelor of Science in Policy, Management, and Planning, and my master's degree in Urban and Regional Planning. When I declared my majors, urban planning was so new to me, but I could see the potential it had to improve our island's environment and our people's quality of life. Planning became my passion. I worked for several years in transportation and environmental planning for various communities throughout California. While in California, I reconnected with Lenny Fejeran. He was an agate boy I had known since I was 16, and I always knew I would one day spend my life with him. Unfortunately, he's not here today, but he should be logged in via live stream on the internet. He's in the States for business, doing research and development, but don't feel bad for him. For a restaurant owner, that just means he's eating and drinking and enjoying his time. Lenny joined me in Los Angeles and was following his passion in the restaurant industry. We both had aspirations of returning home one day to give back to the island we felt was such a beautiful, unique place to grow up. In 2009, Lenny and I came home to get married, surrounded by our friends and families. We were here for 3 weeks, and not once did we miss Los Angeles. That is when we decided the time to move home was upon us. For the next year, Lenny and I worked to make our transition home everything we wanted it to be. He wanted to open up a restaurant, so we worked on his business plan. Someone had to support the family while he was chasing his dreams. So I secured a job with DZSP 21 as the environmental superintendent at Andersen Air Force Base. We moved home in 2010 and hit the ground running. Lenny opened Pika's Cafe 4 months after we moved home. So I'm sure many of you know my name, Pika, from Pika's Cafe. As I joked with one of the senators last week, my sandwiches precede me. We have been so fortunate to have been so well received by our island. Within 2 years, we expanded Pika's Cafe and are doing well. We believe our success is because we are fully integrated into our island community. We know that when others succeed and do well, we do too. We support many small local businesses and artisans. We support local music, local art, and especially our local farmers. We promote everything local because we believe that Guam and her people are our family. While Lenny was running Pika's Cafe, I was helping him with the bookkeeping at night. I was also doing very well transitioning into my new job with DZSP 21. Within 1 year, I had absorbed a second office under my leadership. At Anderson, my teams and I ensured environmental compliance for the base. We protected the northern aquifer, the air, cultural resources, and the health of those that lived and worked on the base. I managed our $1 million budget and, in a very short time, turned the oftentimes adversarial relationship between our contract and our military clients into a collaborative, trusting relationship. I loved the work I did and the people I worked with. However, by the time we got projects to work on, someone in the Pentagon had already decided them. I knew what I was doing was important to ensure the projects went ahead with as little harm to our environment as possible. However, it was a constant internal struggle, knowing that our beautiful land up north was being developed without our people's input, and that one was not able to enjoy some of the most beautiful cliff lines and land of Guam unless they had a base access card. So at the end of 2013, as Lenny was on his way out the door to go snorkeling one morning, and I was headed into work at Anderson, he told me, "Pika, quit your job and work with me." It was a very difficult decision to leave behind my career, a fantastic job and people I loved. However, I took the leap, and I prayed that though I left my career for my husband's career, that I would have the opportunities to continue to pursue my passion for planning and making Guam a better place. My good friend Sheena Black was a phenomenal supporter and believer in me. She recommended me for participation in Imagine Guam, and I was called in to join the Community Values team. I was on the team with Anne-Marie Arceo, Polly Mike, Dan Ho, Mayor Tayama, Marie Benito, and many others in the community whom I realized I shared so much with. The resulting Community Values document that we produced goes back to basics, our basic Chamorro values and behaviors. I could not be more proud of our work together that will lead the strategic vision for Guam for the next 50 years. From my participation in Imagine Guam, I got to know Anne-Marie. She helped me understand something that I always knew but never fully acknowledged, that I was not confident in my identity as a Chamorro woman because, like many in my generation, I did not speak my language. My father and his siblings are fluent, but it was never taught nor expected of me or my sister. So I decided to make the commitment, and 8 months ago, my family and I, including my Haole mother, began attending Hurrah Academy. I still have so much more to learn, and my goal is to be fluent in 5 years. But a year ago, I would not have been able to write or say even half of what I said in the beginning of this speech. I believe that because of my participation in Imagine Guam, Governor Calvo has afforded me this amazing and humbling opportunity to be appointed to the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. When I left my corporate job for self-employment, I didn't know where or how I could best use my passion for land use planning and environmental protection for the betterment of our people. However, I see it now. The Chamorro Land Trust Commission and the 1975 Chamorro Land Trust Act that it is based on is where my service belongs. The mission of the CLTC says it all. The Chamorro Land Trust Act was intended to advance the well-being of the Chamorro people by way of equitable land distribution, and CLTC was created to carry out that mission. Even in this modern day and age, our land remains the base of our Chamorro culture. We call ourselves Itautautanu, people of the land. And for the last 400 years, we have not been in full control of our land. In fact, today, the land comprising the Chamorro Land Trust is land that was taken from the Chamorro people by the Spanish, then the Japanese, then the Americans. The Chamorro Land Trust Act seeks to give back what was wrongfully taken and give it back in an equitable way to raise our people up. It has been 40 years since the passing of the Chamorro Land Trust Act and 20 years since the passing of the rules and regs for residential and agricultural leases, and 20 years after that, just last year, the rules and regs for commercial leases was passed. In all of that time, we are not sitting here today applauding the advancement of our Chamorro people because of the Land Trust Act's implementation. We are sitting here today because not enough has happened for our people. We are broken. We are protesting. We are afraid that our family's land will never be our children's land. I believe that the Commission and the Land Trust hold so much promise for our people. And when our people do well, everyone that calls Guam home does well. I am committed to the mission of the Chamorro Land Trust Act, and if confirmed, I will work collaboratively with my fellow Commission members. I will be open and transparent, and I will always come back to the mission of the Chamorro Land Trust Act, to advance the well-being of the Chamorro people by way of equitable land distribution. I would like to end with a quote from the late Governor Ricardo J. Bordalio, whose time in office saw the passage of the 1975 Chamorro Land Trust Act. Guam is not just a piece of real estate to be exploited for its money-making potential. Above all else, Guam is the homeland of the Chamorro people. That is a fundamental, undeniable truth. We are profoundly Tautau Tanu, people of the land. This land, tiny as it is, belongs to us just as surely, just as inseparably as we belong to it. No tragedy of history or declaration of conquest, no legalistic double talk can change that fact. Guam is our legacy. Dunkulin asizuos maasi.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Pika, and good afternoon, everyone. First, let me apologize for stepping out to have to take a phone call. My wife's car's getting some work done, and the mechanic called. So knowing you and how supportive you are, I figured maybe a couple minutes away wouldn't be so bad. But I'm here, and I want to just publicly thank you for the meeting we had yesterday, for making time to, I guess, make your rounds and talk to different senators regarding your appointment, and I certainly appreciate that. And I appreciate the conversation we had, and your story, your testimony is consistent with what you told me yesterday, that you kind of put your passion aside to pursue your husband's passion and his dream, and now you're facing an opportunity where your education can be put to good use. And Mr. Chairman, I just want to continue to share that in our conversations we talked about the idea of the requirement of a master plan for the Chamorro Land Trust Commission, and I'm sure that Mr. Borja and his staff and other commissioners are moving forward to develop that kind of a master plan. And what we talked about is maybe at your first commission meeting, I'm sure that the chairman will work hard to put a committee report together, and he actually tried to make a motion yesterday at the rules meeting to put your name on the agenda. And we kind of said, maybe we should have a public hearing first. But we're prepared to go into session tomorrow, and we can make that motion while we're in motions. But anyway, maybe at your first official meeting with the Chamorro Land Trust Commission, I'm sure you'll make the suggestion that the commission create a task force or a subcommittee on master plan and compliance, and I know you would be pitching really hard to spearhead that.
Thank you, Senator.
Yeah. And we also talked about, the struggle of wanting to make sure that we honor as a community and as policy the tenets of the Chamorro Land Trust Commission, and how sometimes people are swayed or dissuaded by the hope of big investment that never really materializes as big investment, and we kind of have to sacrifice for what is to become of those kinds of poor decisions. But I'm very confident and comfortable that your passion for the Chamorro Land Trust Commission, that no one would ever put you in a position, and you would never put any of us in a position where those passions have to be set aside. So congratulations. I agree with Senator Leon Guerrero that Governor Calvo made an excellent choice. And it's these kinds of choices that we have to stand behind, and I'm certainly in support of your confirmation. Thank you, Institutos Masi.
Thank you.
Pika, it was really a pleasure to have a lengthy conversation with you yesterday, and I just want to go on the record that she authentically has impressed me with her knowledge and the research that she has done relative to the critical issues that are confronting the Chamorro Land Trust. She's very clear on the mission of the commission, and she knows how complex this is. She knows how important it is, not only to her, but to the Chamorro people. So I just want to thank you for that effort, and I want to thank you for stepping up and accepting the nomination. You have a lot of support, and you certainly will have the support of the leaders, but we would also expect that you would take on those very tough issues, and there are still some very big items on the agenda. So I look forward to working with you and certainly seeing through the mission of the commission. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator.
Pika, it's a pleasure to see you again. I just want to congratulate you on stepping up to the plate. I know that you've got many other things that you have with 3 children and 2 businesses and an active husband. But one of the things I want to emphasize from our discussion yesterday is please work with us, with the legislature, because we do want to facilitate your efforts as you tackle on with your fellow commission members some of the tasks that you have and some of the issues and problems that have been looming. But, we're always here to help support. And I just want to thank you again for also demonstrating to me that sincere passion that we were all looking for. Whenever candidates come up, we always wonder, why do you want to do this? It's not an easy task. And now we see your sincerity, and the fact that you've got all these people that came out to support you is testament to your good deeds in the community. So I just want to say congratulations and Sus Masi.
Thank you. And I just want to say that I really appreciate the fact that you've taken the initiative to call the office and ask to meet. And it was very clear from our discussion that you're not walking into this blindly like a deer in a headlight. So I think you have an understanding of, in fact, my first question to you was, do you know what you're getting yourself into? And I think you do. And I appreciate the fact that you're willing to do this, and I think you bring a lot to the table. And I too want to see you serve on the commission. So with that, the committee will make sure that we get this committee report done tonight in time for tomorrow's session, and it will be put on tomorrow's agenda. So with that, the confirmation hearing for Ms. Pika Fejeran is completed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll move on now to the next nominee, our appointment. And this is the appointment for Mr. Ricardo C. Duenas as a member of the AB Wampat International Airport Authority Board of Directors to serve the unexpired term of Director Edward Untalan from June 16, 2014 to February 21, 2017. I have signing up to provide testimony is Mr. Pedro R. Martinez, Ms. Mel Mendiola, and we have Rosalinda Tolan and Martin Gerber. It's not clear, though, whether you wanted to give written testimony. And Catherine Scrow. However, they have signed up to indicate their support for Mr. Duenas. I also want to indicate that I did receive written testimony from Mr. Jeff Jones in support of Mr. Duenas's appointment, and I believe there was a couple that was also received in the mail, and that will be included. So with that, I'm going to call up Mr. Pedro Roy Martinez. And did you want to speak? Okay, please. Yeah, you did sign up. You didn't indicate whether you want to. And Mel Mendiola? Yeah, you had signed up. Okay, so we'll go in the order of sign up, unless you want to defer.
I'd like to defer to my director.
Okay, so we'll start with Kathy Scroll.
Duenas and Hafa Senators. My name is Kathy Calvo-Scrow. I'm actually here to present Acting Chairman Martin Gerber's testimony, but I would, since I have the opportunity, I would like to share my support in favor of the appointment of Mr. Ricardo Duenas as a member of the Board of Directors of the Guam International Airport. First of all, I think he fills a very important void that now exists with outgoing Chairman Antalan's background in finance. I think that Mr. Ricardo Duenas' experience, his professional experience in finance, would certainly enhance the diversity of the board. On a personal level, I do know Mr. Duenas is a person of high integrity, character. He's a family man, and I can personally attest to his character and his ability to perform as an effective director in the Guam International Airport Authority, and I'm speaking in favor of his nomination.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I present Mr. Acting Chairman Martin Gerber's testimony. Dear Senator Ada, this testimony is submitted in support of the appointment of Mr. Ricardo C. Duenas to the AB Wampat International Airport Authority Guam Board of Directors. With significant experience in finance and investment and service as the chairman of the Guam Economic Development and Commerce Authority, Mr. Duenas' inclusion in the GIAA Board of Directors is a perfect fit and would complement the current membership of the board with a diverse range of business, regulatory, and finance experience. Finance and compliance issues are part of the airport's day-to-day operations and the programming of capital improvement projects. Having known Mr. Duenas as very active in the public service at GITA, we certainly welcome another member to direct policy at Guam's one and only airport and its operations that is an important economic catalyst for the people and the island of Guam. On behalf of the Board of Directors of the airport, we are fully supportive of Governor Edward B. Calvo's appointment of Ricardo C. Duenas to the GIAA Board of Directors. Regards, Martin J. Gerber, Vice Chairman of the airport. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Scroll. Mel?
Thank you. It's my honor to support two friends today. It's nice to know that my friends are such winners. I have known the nominee, Mr. Duenas, for 8 years, and in the time that I've known him, I can attest to his character and his commitment to giving back to the island of Guam. He and I became acquainted while volunteering for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and during that time I became aware of his and his wife, the Honorable Maria Senzon's active participation in organizations that give back to our island. And since then, in my capacity as a member of the board for various organizations such as the Girl Scouts as well as the Guam Young Professionals, he and his companies in-kind and cash support for our various projects. He's always been a very responsible member of the business community. Currently, as on a personal note, Mr. Duenas sent one of his children to volunteer for my organization, and she learned the importance of supporting our local farmers and agricultural market. And along with this, in his capacity as a member of the board of GITA, he provided oversight to one of our key community partners. GITA has been very instrumental to us achieving our mission to help farmers and small businesses. As an example, there's a restaurant just right across the street from here. It's called 9th Street Rotary. During Mr. Duenas' time on the board, they were able to secure a loan to open up their restaurant with very little capital. And I think that that's something anyone who has any experience working in a bank knows that lending to restaurants is often high risk, and they're usually the first to be turned down. Mr. Duenas and I continue to be personal friends, and I observe his and his family's commitment to the betterment of our island. And as a voter and a resident of Manila and a proud Chamorro, I fully support his nomination to the committee. And I thank you for the opportunity for providing my testimony for the nominee as well as the prior one.
Thank you, Ms. Mendiola. Peter Roy?
Buenas, Senator Ada, Senator Rory, Senator Mary, Senator Narissa. I'm Peter Roy. I was going to say Guajus Peter Roy, but I'm Peter Roy Martinez, the Deputy Manager for the airport. And I'm here to read a testimony submitted by Chuck Ada, our Executive Manager, who's not on island right now. So before I read that, though, I just want to say that I also know Ricardo Duenas, and he's a good man. So I'm asking also for your support. Buenas, Senator Ada. Testimony submitted in support of the appointment of Mr. Ricardo Duenas to the AB Wampat International Airport Board of Directors. With significant experience in finance, accounting, and compliance with prestigious firms, and having served in the public arena as the chairman of the Guam Economic Development and Commerce Authority, director on Guam Banking Board with the Department of Revenue and Taxation, and various task forces dealing with revenue and taxation, Mr. Ricardo Duenas has a wealth of knowledge that will benefit and complement the current makeup of the Guam Airport Board of Directors. With over 20 airport improvement projects in varying phases totaling $167 million, funded by the 2013 General Revenue Bonds, Mr. Duenas' finance background is integral to compliance issues the airport deals with in regard to local and federal regulations and airport bond covenants. Having worked within complex local and federal regulations in his prior capacities, Mr. Duenas is well equipped to lead the agency through the fiduciary issues of the public corporation. He will be able to scrutinize capital assets, maximize earning potentials, and ensure the agency is pursuing and participating in an appropriate financial vehicles to strengthen our portfolio. On behalf of the airport management and staff, we are in full support of Governor Edward B. Calvo's appointment of Ricardo C. Duenas to the GIAA Board of Directors. We anticipate a productive and successful relationship with this commendable nominee and have confidence that Mr. Duenas will serve at a high standard level and act in the best interests of the airport and the people of Guam. Your favorable consideration and confirmation of Mr. Duenas' appointment is greatly appreciated. Regards, Charles H. Ada, the second Executive Manager for GIAA.
Thank you very much, Mr. Martinez. Does anybody have any questions from this panel? None? Okay. Thank you very much. Have a good day. And now we'll call on Mr. Ricardo Duenas to please step forward. I also want to note that Mr. Govendo Supti has signed up indicating his support for the nominee.
Good afternoon, Chairman Tom Ada, Vice Chairman Rory Respicio, and all the members of the Committee on Transportation, Infrastructure, Land, Border Protection, Veteran Affairs, Procurement. That's a mouthful. My name is Ricardo C. Duenas, and today I come before you to seek your support and to serve as a member of the Board of Directors for the Guam International Airport. Some of you may know me already. For those who do not, I am the sixth child of Judge Cristobal and Juanita Duenas. I am 52 years old and was born and raised in Guam. I am the father of three beautiful children, Nicole, Amalia, and Ricky, and I have one granddaughter, Maria Sol. I graduated from the Father Duenas Memorial High School and received a bachelor's degree in accounting from the University of San Francisco. For 13 years following my graduation, I worked as an auditor and tax consultant for various accounting firms in California and Guam, including KPMG, Pete Marwick, and Ernst & Young. As a former certified public accountant, I served as past president for the Guam Society of Certified Public Accountants, as a member of the American Institute for Certified Public Accountants, and as a member of the Association of Government Accountants. For the last 16 years, I have worked as the Chief Financial Officer for the Taurus Group of Companies in Guam. We are a wholesale distributor and retailer of several products, including alcohol, tobacco, consumer goods, and agricultural products and supplies. From 2006 to 2013, I served as a director and chairman for the board of directors for the Guam Economic Development Authority. When I was first approached by Governor Cabo to serve on the board of the GIAA, I asked myself, what could I contribute as a board member? As the former chairman of GIDA, I already understood that the airport serves as a key contributor to the economic development of the territory. The airport is the gateway to virtually every visitor to Guam. The airport is also our link to the outside world for every resident on the island, whether we travel for vacation, business, for medical reasons, or to seek educational opportunities abroad. The airport is a critical lifeline for commerce and quality of life in Guam. I've had the opportunity to speak with some of the GIA members of management over the past week. One of the comments that one senior manager there really struck me. He said, "Think of the airport as a small city. In addition to the airport operations, we have our own police department, we have our own fire department, we oversee dedicated food and retail facilities, and we manage our own real estate and public works operations, including $900 million in past, present, and future improvement projects. In addition to all this, the airport is perhaps the most highly regulated and federally scrutinized agencies within the government of Guam. So it is my hope that I can use my 30 years of financial and management experience to assist in the effective and efficient management of the Guam airport. I will dedicate my most thoughtful and impartial consideration to every matter brought before the board. Therefore, I humbly ask for your support for my nomination. Thank you very much."
Thank you. Any of the members have any questions? I do have just one question. Yes. I notice here in the statement of financial interest that you have a 20% equity interest in the Tizen 5 LLC.
Yes.
Can you explain what that is, and would that possibly have any potential conflict of interest with the airport?
The Tizen 5 LLC is a company that was formed by my brothers and sisters, and we formed it primarily for estate planning purposes. It was formed to hold some lands that were left to my grandfather, or returned to my grandfather through the Ancestral Land Commission, and then therefore to my mom and to my aunt. So we were looking at putting that in for estate planning to avoid, for estate planning purposes, to hold that property and hopefully in the future to develop it. It's outside of the airport's footprint. It's within the old officer housing area. So it has already been fully returned. It's not within the parkway, and it's not within the airport perimeter.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you clarified that, and that's going to be important to note in the committee report. I don't really have any questions other than that I have. I looked at your previous contributions to this government, having served on the GIDA board for quite a while, and I've actually tried to take the time to look at the minutes from the past when that you were chairman. And I certainly appreciate the fact that you've taken that much of your personal time to serve on the GIDA board, the banking board. I lost count what other boards and commissions you've sat on, but
those are the two within the government. Yes.
Right. Yeah. But then also I noticed in your packet that you've been, very active in other community organizations.
Yes, that's correct.
So I think you certainly bring a lot to the table at the airport, especially with your financial background, and I'm sure that will be welcome. So with that, there being no questions from the panel here, we will make sure that the committee report gets prepared and reported out in time to get onto the agenda for tomorrow's session.
All right, thank you very much.
Unless you have any final statements?
No, that's it.
None? Okay, so then
I'm sorry I didn't bring more people to testify.
So I think with that, then, the confirmation hearing for Mr. Ricardo C. Duenas is completed. We're going to go ahead and move right into the oversight hearing now for the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. So if you can go ahead, please, and turn on the overhead projector. Okay.
How come they didn't testify? Because they didn't have us. All you have to do is just be here.
Okay. Sure. Ready to put on the first slide, Joe? We're going to go ahead and commence now the oversight hearing on the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. But before I call up the officials from the Chamorro Land Trust Commission, I would kind of want to lay out basically where the committee is coming from and the questions that it has. In particular, today's oversight hearing really wants to focus in on what has been designated as Track 10123 or Lot 7128-REM in Yigo. This is the Tract 10123 that we're going to be discussing today. And we put this up for orientation. Across the street from it is the Yigo Gym. Adjacent to it is the area that is occupied by the GPA power plant. Now, currently in that area, in that tract, based on the aerial photograph that we have here, and we're not sure if if this depicts everything that's in there, but we know that there's at least this one large farm here, which is the Taitano farm, which farms at least about approximately 15 acres. There's another farm here, another occupant there, and another one. And when we looked at the database, I believe there's two more occupants that's been given leases for parcels within this particular tract. Now, this particular tract was one of the submittals that was provided in the proposed Chamorro Land Trust properties to be put up for commercial leasing. And along with that submittal was the recommended use as was recommended by the CLTC staff, and that was one for commercial use, and secondly to contract a housing developer to install infrastructure and build affordable housing to be sold to eligible CLTC applicants. Now, this particular area here was originally designated as Lot 7128 and has now been renamed as Track 10123. And you'll have the opportunity to either correct whatever errors we may have here. But our understanding is that Is that, I mean, and this here was basically an extract of what was submitted to the committee, but in this, apparently in this area here, there's a planned subdivision. And there's basically, we've carved out easements, lots, and whatnot. And so, given that there's this planned subdivision, the committee has the question then of, in implementing that subdivision, what impact will that have on existing tenants that are in this property, such as the Titano Farm, such as these other tenants that are in there that were earlier given leases. So that's one question that we hope to get answered at today's oversight hearing. The second question that we hope to get answered, this here is an aerial photograph, a more recent aerial, which shows that to the west of tract 10123, we have back here a housing development, I guess an affordable housing development project back here. Down in this area here is a yet to be completed, I guess I would put it at a high-end homes, gated community that's being built. I believe the homes that are going to be put in here are like $500,000 homes. But in order to get access to that housing project and to this housing project, a easement was given through this Chamorro Land Trust property here, and I believe it was 60 feet wide, 40 or 60 feet by, I guess the length here is about 150 feet. And the question then that the committee has is, in granting that easement, what did the Chamorro Land Trust Commission get in return for granting that easement? So this lays out then basically the backdrop for this oversight hearing, and we hope that you'll be able to answer the question of, one, this grant of easement, what did the Chamorro Land Trust get in return? And secondly, what is the impact on the current CLTC lessees in if we're going to move forward to put in that planned subdivision into this area? So with that, I'm going to go ahead and ask, I guess we have the chairman for the CLTC, Mr. Pascual Sablan. If you can step forward, and also the administrative director, Mr. Michael Borja. So with that, presuming that the information, the preface that I gave was accurate, we could go right in and basically answer the first of the two questions.
I'll speak. This original lot.
So with you here then is, just for the record, we have Mr. Pascual Sablan. You are the acting chair or the chair? You are the chairman of the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. Great, thank you and welcome. And Mr. Borja, the administrative director. So please proceed.
The former lot 7128 was redeveloped and made into an agricultural subdivision master plan, which became later the tract number 10123. And as you saw, we had a subdivision laid out on that tract of land as well. The proposal is to, and the reason we had to include this on the listing of proposed commercial leases of lands to be leased, is just because we're going to have to enter into a commercial agreement with some developer that will have to answer to an RFP to be able to come in and develop the properties. This subdivision is subdivided into half-acre lots, because that's what you're required by law under an agricultural subdivision. The intent is not to issue out subdivisions, or excuse me, lots in half acres, but if you create a subdivision here, we could probably get upwards to 130 different homes inside there on lots that are much smaller, because you can put in the full suite of infrastructure, most especially the sewer. And that's what this whole thing was developed and designed originally to be. Now, if you recall, a while back, there was an interest in trying to see if we can get any kind of infrastructure assistance through the USDA through a program called the Substantially Underserved Trust Area Program, or SUTA. The original thought in that whole time period under the late Senator Ben Pangilinan was that this was really going to be some kind of a grant, and that we had to have a clean slate of land in order to do this. It was found later on, when we finally sat down about a couple of years ago, right after I came in, with a USDA person from Hawaii who was specialized in the SUTA program, that in fact it's not a grant, it's a low interest loan, and that it is also not intended to be used on a clean slate of land, but to provide the infrastructure on lands where there already is an existing residence. Now, in order to obtain a SUTA loan, the Chamorro Land Trust looked at it and said, well, if we go in and get this loan as the CLTC and put in the infrastructure, when we turn over that infrastructure to the appropriate utilities, in this case Waterworks and maybe even Guam Power Authority, they cannot assume the loan. We would then be stuck with paying off a loan with no income coming forward to pay for that kind of a loan. Now, we have also learned too that it's not just us that can use this SUTA loan, but actually developers as well. And there are some here on the island who have that ability to be able to do those kinds of things. But if we were going to do something, it would still have to go through an RFP process, and whoever can apply for these would be the ones. Because the intent is to build affordable homes here with a full suite of infrastructure, and that cost of that infrastructure would then be included with the cost of the home. And it's not anybody's intent that these homes would be leased out by the contractor, but in fact the homes will be sold to the appropriate and eligible applicants who not only are eligible for COTC but qualify for a loan to get this. In the end, what we found is that it could possibly come out to roughly around $25,000 per lot if we increased the size of this subdivision to 130 to 150 homes at around 929 square meters each. $25,000 for the infrastructure is relatively cheap. I use the example where I hear someone say, it's going to cost me $5,000 a pole, 5 poles to bring in the power to my lot, and then the same distance for water would be $80,000. So here you're talking about someone who's going to do already $105,000. So those are the kinds of things that are unreasonable to the CLTC lessees right now. Now, in the case of the Taitano farm, that was a 10-acre lot of land that he had for agricultural use, and he predated the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. The intent was to try to move him to another location, which I think we're going to be discussing later on, and that would then allow us to be able to use this kind of land and in the process have more space to use. So we did move him to another area, and we built a home. Now, on the grant of easement,
are you also taking those relocation actions with the other
I believe
tenants in here?
there were others. I think there's one remaining that still has a place there, and that's the only one that's left on this lot.
Now, Guam law is very specific about relocating or displacing residents when the government's going to come in and take the property. I guess in this case, I presume Chamorro Land Trust wants to clear this, make this a clean slate here so that he can put in the subdivision. So my reading of it is that Guam law on relocating would apply to this, which means we got to make whole that individual that we are displacing to another area, and basically.
And that's what we attempted to do.
All right. So,
That's
and I
what we
guess you'll
attempted
answer
to
to
do.
that.
Yes, and it was, I think, two or three of the lessees there that really didn't have anything there but just a shack for their farming. But in the case of Mr. Taitano, he actually had a home that we had to relocate. So we had to relocate and build a new home. I'll get into that one in a moment.
Okay.
Now, in the grant of easement, if you go into that one picture that shows those other private subdivisions that are already in place, that was already a narrow easement that went inside there to give access to that subdivision. It's one of the Paradise subdivisions that's back inside there. In return, what we asked them to do is that the infrastructure they laid out, most especially the sewer and the water lines, all had stub outs. All have stub outs that would be we could access and easily use when we were ready to begin our infrastructure development, and that we would have the full use of all that infrastructure that they laid down into the ground. And likewise, we would be able to hook up to any of the infrastructures that these other subdivisions were going to be installing into the system.
Is the plan then to be able to tap into the water line that runs through here, to run in a backbone line in these areas,
right,
as well as sewer?
Correct.
Okay, so is that the trade-off that was given because I believe this was a 40-foot easement initially, and then got widened to a 60-foot easement.
Right. So we needed to have, even the Guam Land Use Commission wanted to have something wider for the number of homes that were being planned to be put into this area.
All right. So Chamorro Land Trust then, if I understand you then correctly, Chamorro Land Trust did benefit by giving this easement through its property for these housing projects to be able to gain access to them.
And that was the plan the whole time, and they have done that.
Okay.
And they also had given us the services when we're ready for it, to help us to survey out whatever needed to be done when that time came. But we haven't gotten even to that point yet of even taking up that offer.
Is that sort of accommodation in writing? I mean, so that if everybody was to pass away today.
In the grant of easement, I believe it is. I don't have any of that information with me today,
okay,
but in doing any kind of grant of easement, that has to go through, there's proper channels for doing that kind of thing, because it does have to be documented and recorded.
Okay. All right. So I think you've answered this question here, unless any of the panel members have any questions.
Well, I just wanted to note too, because of the number of homes that are being built, especially with the Paradise subdivision, increasing its increment, adding more homes, because that whole back area, if you look at the triangle that belongs to the CLTC, all the other things back there is still their lots, and they're building homes in increments back there. And so there's even a demand and they're going to be installing specific kinds of turn lanes to be installed in that area, so that it's much safer for the traffic to cross in and out. And they're also limiting, like for example, that other one to the south, their access in and out of Marine Drive, just because of the volume of traffic that needs to come in and out. They want to restrict the entryway into Marine Drive.
Okay. So let's get to the question of impact on current Chamorro Land Trust lessees. Now, you've indicated that in the case of this lessee here, Mr. Thomas Taitano, that he has been relocated. Can we maybe, can you describe that displacement and how we have kept him whole?
Right. Mr. Taitano had an originally a 10-acre lot, and in moving him over to lot number 7116-3, which is near the back gate of Anderson, up in the UP area, the process of moving him over there, he was willing to, what he wanted to do was to keep 5 acres, because he is a farmer and he continues to farm, and to take the other 5 acres and subdivide it into 5 other lots that still would be belong to him, but be assigned to his children. And at the time, that's what we did, and so they all have additional leases on their part. Now, in the process, we had, at the time, my predecessor had made arrangements for a contractor to erect a prefabricated concrete home on that premises for Mr. Taitono to replace his house.
Okay, so the new location is over on the east side of Route 15, correct? Or on the...
As you're heading towards Sanderson Gate from Route 15, it'll be to the right.
To the right, okay. When did this displacement take place? Do you have any idea?
Around 2013.
2013. When do we actually physically move this particular lessee out?
I know we completed his home in late 2014.
Are they whole now?
Well, the home is completed. Now, the process there is very unfortunate, and I do apologize to the family on this because it is a process that kind of was backwards. And because there was not a building permit that was obtained, in order to get the occupancy permit, and this is something that DPW deals with from time to time, the process of doing that is now underway and has been. There wasn't a survey map that had been completed, although there was a sketch of an area that was already done. The actual recorded survey map was just recently recorded. So there's a process of going through now to get an occupancy permit, because without that occupancy permit, we cannot get them to get, they're not permitted to have their utilities hooked up, and that's what's holding everything back, is the utilities. It's what's not transparent to the lessee is all the other actions that have to be taken on this DPW checklist in order for us to get to that occupancy permit side of the house. But that's what we're aiming at and trying to resolve. We've had meetings with DPW on several different occasions to talk about this issue, and we're trying to move forward on this as quickly as we can to get it to that point. But it was just one of those things where we were assuming somebody was already having that thing, that the contractor was going to have the ability to do it, but it never got done, and it didn't. So we're taking on that task to do it. And there's also the issue of the fees that have to be paid, which we were trying to find if it can be made de officio, because it's being done by government to government. Nevertheless, we've already worked towards appropriating some of our own money to pay for those fees, which is to get to the occupancy permit. The unfortunate thing is, when you try to get an occupancy permit without the building permit first, the fees are doubled. So it is a doubling of the fee.
Mr. Borja, can you, Joe, can you put on the aerial of where the Taitonos were relocated to? Okay, so we've got some mapping, and we've got some mapping that's got to be done. We've got to get signature signed off on the building permit. We need
on the
sign off
occupancy permit
and a sign off on the occupancy permit. Now, as I understand it, at the very least, the tenant moved into the new place as recent as last November, and to this day they do not have legal hookup to water. They do have power. I guess they got temporary power, but it is stipulated very clearly that it is for 18 months only. I don't know when the 18 months expires, but so this relocation took place since 2014, and here we are, March 29th, 2016, and they are still not legally hooked up to water. They're still on temporary power, and then we're still working on the paperwork. So I guess really I understand all those things that need to be done. The question is, when can we get that done? Have you got that thing? And I ask that in particular because Well, I guess we got the chicken egg stuff here, and I guess there's a lot of ironies here because right in front of the house, my staff went out there and looked at it. Right in front of the house, with a pipe that's been already hooked in to the house, is a water meter with the water pipe hooked in, but it doesn't belong to him. And I guess I normally don't resort to oversight hearings, but when I realize that the tenant we're talking about has a serious medical condition, is a veteran, and then this displacement took place, I just kind of like, what's going on here? And which led me to resorting to calling this, and that hopefully here today when we leave, we can give the family some time, definitive plan of action that we're going to get water to that individual, especially in view of their medical condition. Have we got it?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I do want to assure this committee and the legislature that we are moving on trying to get this done as quickly as possible. Looking over this checklist, you know, I wish I could tell you that it would be days or weeks. I don't want it to be anything beyond that. But not knowing what other hurdles there may be that we have not yet even
what are the obstacles now? Money?
Well, no, I
Is
mean,
it
I
money?
have to go through. No, it's not money. No, I mean, we have to get it signed off by EPA, Guam Water Works, Guam Power Authority, the Appeals Board, Parks and Recs, and Department of Agriculture. Those are all these things.
Is somebody from the department walking that through?
I do have someone walking that through. Like I said, we on our end, what some of these agencies were waiting for was the recorded survey map. That's done now. So we've now got something we can move with. But I'll make it. You know, it will be on my list of things that has to be done. And if I have to talk with my fellow directors to move on their side of the house, I will be talking to them. But
So-
I apologize. This is really not something that I think is a very good thing on anybody's side, most especially on the Taitano family. And I want to assure the legislature that this is an anomaly in the way we wanted to do business. It's something that was done prior to, I mean, I was involved in it as a commissioner, not knowing the full details of how the nuts and bolts were going to be working on this, although I've been in here for 2 years now, and it's been happening under my watch as well. I don't have an excuse that I can give you for this, although I will say this is not how we want to do it, and not my expectation of how I expect it for things to be done. Because I want to give something in contrast where just recently we finished off a house that was a model home in conjunction with Guam Housing Authority, where they built a model home that will be eventually filled by a CLTC applicant in the Sagan-Lanazan area.
Great.
That thing has gone very clearly, very well, and that's the way we would like to do the job, because, you know, when we give someone a job to do, that contractor is supposed to finish this whole thing off.
And I'm sure Chamorro Land Trust has done many good things. But right now, I want to focus on this one. This is an aerial of where Mr. Taitano right now has been relocated to. I believe this is the Route 15 going up to Anderson.
Yes.
And I'm not sure what this road is. I know. And as I understand it, the water line runs right along here. There's a water meter right here, and it's hooked in. There's a water line that's actually hooked into the house. And if I understand correctly, all it takes is if they could legally do it, but that water meter does not belong to them. And so I guess the Taitanos have basically their property here now. And so that's the irony of this whole thing. The water line is right here, there's a water meter right there, and we just can't seem to get things to synchronize.
We've had some other issues with other lessees who had disconnections from Guam Water Works, and on a case-by-case basis, we've been going to them because, you know, water is the lifeline to everybody, and I do not believe that, you know, they should be kept to that challenge. We've tried to work with these folks. These are especially in situations in which we have people who are on lands and they have a lease, but they haven't done all the other things that are necessary for that lease because it was granted without a survey, and Guam Waterworks. I think what Guam Waterworks would probably do to help us out in this is they needed this survey too, just to be fully assured of where the easements were when they're ready to go down and plant their meter in the system. And so that's what they wanted to see on all the cases that they had issues with when they disconnected people for non-payment, and then when it was time for reconnection, if the conditions that they expected weren't in place, then there was an issue. He has a lease, he has the survey now, so those are some of the things that I think...
He has a lease for this area now?
I believe he does, because we had to transfer him over.
It was my understanding that they don't have any kind of documentation.
Okay.
No lease, no occupancy permit that they can take to
Because in the recorded map, we actually even recorded it with their names on there with that they had those properties. So there should be a lease. I'll take a look at that again.
I think before I give it to my colleagues to ask their questions is I want to walk out of this room today. And I think we can reasonably assume that, everybody is going to be home when you go to EPA and knock on whoever's door to get their signature, that they're going to be there, and that is the end of this week going to be reasonable for you to get all the necessary signatures and documentations to be able to go to Guam Waterworks and say, here, hook them up, give them a water account. Is
the end of the week going to be reasonable to finish off this checklist? I don't think so, but is the end of the week going to be reasonable to try and get the water hooked up? That's going to be my goal.
Okay.
At least get that part done, and get the rest of it done as well. But at least get that part started.
So right now it seems that there may be a lot of things that need to get done, but the most important thing is to be able to get water to that house.
Correct.
They've got temporary power already, but that's only good for 18 months. I don't know when that expires. And so, if at the very least getting water to that house certainly is going to be crucial. Does anybody have any questions they might want to ask? Senator?
I'm speechless in knowing about this, because the impact of this situation to the overall mission of the Chamorro Land Trust is tremendous. And, Mr. Borja, honestly, I just really respect you. You have such a big task, right? You do. But at the same time, it's heartbreaking to know that we have removed somebody, a family, Mr. Daitano, from his home. And that was almost 2 years ago. And I would think that as much as the mission of the Chamorro Land Trust is to promote, is to protect the welfare of the Chamorro people by providing them land, by providing them, the properties, and just providing the kind of respect, right, that they deserve. So, Mr. Chairman, simplistically, the way I look at it is that this is an emergency situation. This is an emergency situation. I would imagine that if Governor Calvo was aware of this, that he would just call all the people who are supposed to sign this and to get all the information and get it signed and make sure that he has living condition that he deserves, especially in light of what you had noted Mr. Chairman, that Mr. Titano is not even well? This is not acceptable, Mr. Chairman. There's no timeline that's acceptable. This is an emergency situation. And to think that, so many years, decades ago, those who had passed the bill for the Chamorro Land Trust Commission, and yet we have this going on. I mean, I know it's emotional for me right now because no water. Remove him from where he was at. He was comfortable. So I don't know, Mr. Chairman, don't you think that we should give Governor Calvo a call and then for him to just say, excuse me, everyone, get here to my office, and what do you need? What do you need signed? What do we need to do to give Mr. Titano the dignity that he deserves? That's the only thing I can say right now, Mr. Chair. I feel so helpless. I really do, but I'm really heartbroken. Really heartbroken.
Thank you, Senator Underwood. Senator Respicio.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director, could you just restate what would have to be done in order to get that water hooked up for that family?
Well, I'll have a discussion with Guam Waterworks here because, one of the things that they do require is a survey to know exactly where the stuff are. And we have a dialogue with them for these kinds of issues that happen on a regular basis with water disconnections in other areas. So we'll have a discussion. I will have a discussion with them directly to see what we can do.
But can something more than just a discussion
well, at least to get
place?
the water hooked up for now, while we go through the remaining part of this process to just formally conclude it all.
Okay, but what I'm asking is you don't need board approval in order for that water line to be, in order for that lot to be recognized and that water to be hooked up by Waterworks?
No, because
Good.
he already has this lot, and they wouldn't put this name on this recorded map if he didn't already have this lot assigned to him. And I believe we do have a lease in the system. So I'll go through and find where it's all at, but everything's been documented.
So as the administrative landlord for that particular family, couldn't it just take you calling GWA and signing whatever you need to sign in your capacity as director in order for that water meter to be hooked up?
They're a totally different autonomous organization today, and a lot of the things, and the reason they do some of the things that they have to do, and the reason we've had to intervene, is because, as they will yell, they're bond issues. They have a requirement to assure that the customer is duly authorized to be on that property and to be having that hookup, and that their equipment is properly placed in the correct areas, which is wherever an easement is at. So I'll work with them, and I'm going to try and move this to get this done before the end of this week, get the water hooked up, and then the rest of that process, we'll close it out as quickly as possible so that this can be all formally concluded, and this occupancy permit system process can be finalized as quickly as possible. But I think we can try and move on the water issue as fast as we can.
But if you get through the administrative hurdle, it's just a matter of energizing that line. Everything is there.
Well, if we can get the water turned on today, that's what we'll try to do.
Okay.
But that's...
It's actually plumbed already.
Right, and that's what I
Yeah.
mean. So we can go ahead and get this thing all taken care of right away, and with the proper documentation now, they should be able to do this for us while we backtrack and finish off the occupancy permit and then make it formally completed, and then it's turned over. But in the meantime, they'll have the water already running.
How confident are you that Waterworks will be able to move forward?
They've worked with us
absent-
in the past for other specific
Okay.
issues that have come up.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to give the director an opportunity to convey to us that some things aren't as it's easier said than done. In other words, and that you would continue to try to resolve that very unfortunate issue. But it's just not a matter of picking up the phone and saying, I want that water line. I want that house to have water.
I will try and do that.
But you've done it. You've tried already, right?
We have worked through, and they're responsive to our requests. We just have to make sure from our end that the documentation's all there. I mean, that's the reason why we've even gone so far as to try and do things like the agricultural subdivisions that we had to set up, because many of these people were given lands on undescribed lots. So those were the kinds of issues that Guam Water was faced with having a document that didn't give a prescribed lot but a portion of. So there was really not a legal definition of where they were supposed to be, and if they failed to make a payment and got disconnected, that was the result, where we had to come in and say, accept this subdivision plan for what it is, and if we need to, we'll delineate where the easement is at, just so you can get them in there get the water reconnected as soon as possible.
Okay, Senator Torres, do you have any questions? Chairman Sablan, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
This is old news to me.
Please go ahead and speak into the mic.
Mr. Chairman, this is old news to me, you know. I'm listening. Well, it was done back since 2013, I think you said. And I'm not aware of these things, you know. I just got in 17 months ago, and golly, I never came across, I never served in a commission where we have all this problem, but we'll do our best. And I can assure you I'll follow up with Mike.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and kind of, I normally would not do what I'm about to do here at an oversight hearing, but I'm going to go ahead. Mr. Taitano, kung malagwa no komentos? Do we have a family representative that would want to speak?
I'm really emotional, so please excuse me. But good afternoon, honorable senators. My name is Barbara Polino, and I'm here in reference to the dilemma that Chamorro Land Trust put my brother-in-law, Tomas Taitano, in. I'm so disheartened by the way my brother-in-law has been treated since the commission moved him out of his home and land in January of 2013. Yes, his home and land. He took a loan to build a home that had power and water, the essential infrastructure to live in a healthy living environment. There was a promise made to him by the commission, and that was a fair exchange of land and house. I just found out from my niece, and I've been working so diligently to contact as many people as I can, that the commission took 10 acres, and I just found out today that he was also given 10 acres, so I'm happy about that, and we want to see the title of the land or get a copy of that. The commission took his house that had all the correct paperwork and gave him a house with no paperwork. This is not a fair exchange. His house had power and water, and the commission gave him a house with no power and water. This is an injustice. This is inhumane and hurtful to know that those in power use their muscles to cause havoc in a poor farmer's life. How dare, for the development of a business? You put this man, and I gave this email to Mr. Borja. You put him in such a troublesome situation. And I'm glad to hear that you're trying to help other people, but you don't help other people if you're going to ruin somebody's life. When the Chamorro Land Trust was created, the heart of the law was to give lands to our people. It was not intended to move them out for business. I protested, and I stood out in the sun, protesting for our lands to be given to our people. I called into the radio station defending the enactment of the law. I spoke to Governor Gutierrez, at the time to hear the cries of our people. I stood by Angel Santos during the worst situation at that time because I believed the fabric of the law that our people needed to be given land. I remember the long hours spent by Mike Phillips and Angel trying to write this trust. I'm just so disappointed. I know that Senator Santos is probably turning in his grave right now, knowing the injustice you created for my brother-in-law. Never in my lifetime would I believe that the sacrifice I went through with Angel Santos and Nashon Chamorro would be an outright slap on the face. My brother-in-law's life is to farm the land. He loves to plant and see his crops bloom. That's what he loves. He loved waking up in the morning and going out to his farm to check all that he needs to do for his plants, watering them, putting fertilizer, checking if his crops were ready for harvest. You stole that from him for 3 years of your incompetency. You have put his life on hold. You took what he loved doing, gave him sickness, frustration, and stress. This man is a veteran. He fought for us. He deserves a treatment to be treated with honor and respect, and 3 years is too long. 2 years, even 6 months is too long. I don't want to hear any excuses about paperwork and just all the difficulties to get him water or power. I just want him to have that. He has lost 3 years of his life. I just want justice for him. I pray that by the end of this week, that he'll be given permanent power and water. And I thank you right now because I hear that you're really working, but, he has been diagnosed with cancer. He's going through radiation treatment right now. And I just want him to come home where it's comfortable, not where he's stressing out because, oh my gosh, where am I going to get the water? I need to have my children go get it. His 2 sons flew in from the States just to help them during this situation. So they're bringing water to him, but it's still wrong, and there's an injustice, and we can't keep waiting. And even the end of the week, I have been begging and asking. I've called your office. I've sent you an email. I've called, and no contact. I really don't want any negative media about the Chamorro Land Trust because I believe in it. I really believe in it. But please, I'm asking in 1 week, provide that power. Not even 1 week. Even by the end of the day, if you can. If you can please provide that water and talk to GWA. I also heard that, I don't know, by source, and that GWA's, manager, general manager, was part of the IBC company, and I'm not really sure if that's true and correct, but if it is, then maybe he'll have an idea of helping because IBC was the contractor that built the house, I believe. So maybe he might know, and he might be able to push things. That's all I'm asking, is just permanent water and power. I just want my brother-in-law to go home, and I just want him to feel comfortable. Think of your own family, and if they're going through that kind of illness, the kind of living that you want them to go home to after radiation, because it's not easy. Right now I worry about whether he's going to be able to eat, how long he's going to be with us. I just wanted to enjoy his life, and 3 years that you've taken from him, it's just too long, Mr. Borja. It's too long. You just need to have it done just this week or by the end of the day if you can. And that's what I'm asking for. Thank you, Senators.
Thank you very much, Ms. Polino. Okay.
Senator, I would like to mention that...
Go ahead, turn on your mic, please. Turn on your mic, please.
We're just new in the commission members. I think 16 months. Just last month when I was appointed the chairman. If there are more cases like this, I would like to be aware. I hope that people will come forward to us and let us know and see what we can do. Because I'm ready to go down to the governor and they have to bend my knee, to get all these things done. I'm ready to do it. And I believe, that if the governor were to call up all these directors and ask them for, their approval, the governor can do that, and they will do it. So give us a chance, the new commission, and see what we can do. But I wish people would make effort to come before us. On my case, he was with the commission for I don't know how long. Then he became director, so I guess that's why he's aware of all these things. But I don't know anything other than just been there for 16 months. And I've been doing a lot of readings and research, and believe me, I call it a brain cracker. I serve in different commissions, but I never came across this commission or a commission that have this much of a problem. I need the help of your help and the people's help, so we can do something. I'd like to see these things move forward. So help us, please, and thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm so sorry. I just found out recently, but my niece has informed me that she's been calling the Chamorro Land Trust and been speaking to people there. And I also want you to know that some of our people, if you know the personality, is that they're humble and they feel afraid to go before others. And so they feel more comfortable when they call the office and they let the office know and talking on the phone. And maybe that's why you don't hear these cases, but I know that families have called in. There was a protest that was done in front of the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. So people are going up and trying to let the board know. But I thank you for also supporting the fact that you'll also help out with getting water to my brother-in-law, and I look forward to seeing that done as soon as possible.
Let us know.
Okay.
Please. I'll work with Mr. Borja.
Did you want to say
Yes,
something?
My name is Linda Rages. I'm a resident of Rohan, and I'm a retiree from the Department of Agriculture. And I'm happy that we have this dialogue today, and it brings out a lot of issues. And I like to recommend that maybe agriculture, University of Guam, Chamorro Land Trust, land management, and even the utilities, that they can get together and see all these lands where they need help for, to bring in the infrastructure. And one of the primary things too is to promote the agricultural industry on the island. And I'm so glad we have our Farmers Co-op and all these different entities that are helping out with the industry. And I was helping with, Thomas Titan was my brother-in-law too, and I went to see him, and he's still so faithful. He's a consistent farmer. He's been helping with the industry for so long, and to know that he's sick and doesn't have water coming to his home, I saw he had a lot of papayas, and I'm even trying to plant my own papayas in my yard, trying to make money, and I sell like 6 papayas at a time. I'm just, doing it on my own. But he has eggplants in the back. He has seedlings that he needs to put down on the ground. And this man is really a consistent farmer. He has a commercial farm going on. And I just hope that we can rectify something with this, and also maybe as the legislature that we can help in helping the Chamorro Land Trust Commission with all the things that's going on. There's a lot of issues, and I know that we had agricultural leases at the time, and they were all over in Waisensung, and that's just like above the, they have the waterlands, their leases above the waterlands. And then we had, of course, land management had that land use permit where it's just an acre lot, which is just a yearly lease. And all those were turned over because of the Chamorro Land Trust Act. And this is the time to help our Chamorros in these lands and really just come up with what's going on, what's being surveyed, what's not being surveyed, how can we help? And these are all the different, even Guam EPA, because even our farmers, they need to protect our environment. But just a recommendation, and probably you've heard this before, Senator. I'm just bringing it up again. It's a reminder for all of us. So just thank you again for this oversight hearing, and I pray that we can do something for Tomas Taitunu with this situation, because it's not like tomorrow. He needs it now. He's got a diagnosis of cancer. And I'm glad his children are here to help, and they're trying their best. They're really very, they have a lot, they're very industrious, and they're trying their best to bring whatever basic needs that their father needs. And they're just here for a few weeks, and he has only 2 sons here, and the 2 sons are from off island. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Senator, just one more thing. I just want to give you a personal message for my family and I. We are so thankful. We have called so many other people. We have called mayors, and I'm sorry, but we called the mayor. We've called other people, and I've sent emails out to other senators, and I'm not going to mention their names. But you responded immediately. You were even off island on a family trip, and you responded. Your staff responded. You are a true testament of a true leader, and I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and for my family. We thank you so much, Suzusma Asi, for your work. Thank you for this oversight hearing. Thank you that I'm able to meet face-to-face with Mr. Borja, and that you've allowed me to just express all the things that we've gone through. Thank you, Mr. Borja, also for his diligence also in going up to Yigo and checking. But I thank you, Senator Ada, for just, one person may not mean so much when you're out there trying to help so many. But when you help one, be sure to note that one does not come alone, that one comes with many. So I just want to say thank you, Senator Ada, for all that you've done. So just Masi again.
Thank you, Ms. Polino. Mr. Borja, you want closing statements?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. This is one of the many human dilemmas that my staff and I face on a daily basis, and I need to bring to this committee's attention that the recently enacted legislation that takes the land for the landless defaulted properties and returns it to the Chamorro Land Trust Commission has its issues as well. Of the roughly 400 people that we had on the default list and notified in one way or the other, including a publication notice, we only got about 40, less than 40 responses. And in those 40-some responses, every one of them has a human dilemma story as well. But the course of the bill gives me no discretionary powers in trying to deal with each case on a case-by-case basis. And as a result, I'm going to have people whose lands are going to be taken away. I'm going to have people who want to pay back but cannot pay back over the 60-day time period that they're going to get to pay. And so I just need to let you know that I'm going to probably want to ask that there be some modification to that bill or to that law so that we can take care of the people who truly do want to keep their land, but through some hardship or another, even after this long of a delinquency, they still want to stay there. But I cannot give them any kind of discretionary power, and that I have no discretionary power to do things like waive the interest, lengthen the period of payback time, those kinds of things, because those add up quite a bit. And there are people who are very serious and wanting to keep their homes. And in some cases, if they have a home on that lot, then I have to treat them definitely differently. There's just some real vague discussions of that in other, the Land for the Landless program was the creation of, about 24 different public laws all mixed together, one overdoing the other kind of thing. But in this specific case with the Taitanos, we will work in moving this program, trying to move this program or this issue as swiftly as we can.
Thank you very much. Chairman Sablan, you don't have any closing comments? You're fine?
All I can say, Mr. Chairman, that thank you for all your help, and I ask the senators for their help, and I just want to go on record too that this one director that would make time to go out in the jungle and see and address the problem of the people, I thank him too, but we need help more, really.
Okay.
So please continue to help us and help our people.
Okay. Thank you very much. And with that, unless you got any other further comments, this oversight hearing is completed, and we are now adjourned. Thank you very much.